Broadcasting now. Hello, everyone. How are you doing this fine Monday? Welcome to day 6 of our Tubbering, day 4 of our 6-day Tubbering introspective through our albums. Today will be The Great Filter. And this is our time to spend about 5 minutes while people get on. Rob, do anything exciting today?
Just worked. Worked.
Cool.
Had food and worked.
That seems to be the thing to do right now. Have food and hopefully work if you can work. Or sit around and watch TV. I got my hair cut. Tanya cut my hair. You can all judge it. This is more to play with this. Let's watch Tanya give me a haircut.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, let's see if this works.
Wow.
There we go. Did a little time-lapse video of me getting my haircut. A lot of people have asked what that map is. I guess I missed touring a lot. So Tanya and I like to go on little road trip vacations. We're trying to hit all 50 states. You can see we still have to hit the upper West Coast and the lower kind of Florida area. Although we've been to Florida and we've been to Atlanta, we still got to get down there. But that is what the map is. And those are little pictures of us having fun in all those cities. And my haircut is almost finished here in this video. I fell asleep, I think, around this point. Yes, my eyes are shut. I was actually sleeping. Oh, that's all. Okay. But yeah, now I can do videos. If Rob, if you have any visual cues you need, let me know. Send them to me and I can
Okay.
For you.
I didn't plan any visual aids for today, but maybe for tomorrow or Thursday.
I didn't have any myself, and I wanted to show off that I learned that. So the only thing I had really was the haircut.
That was great. It was. I think we could be possibly nominated for an Emmy for this episode because of that.
For editing, best video editing. Oh
yeah.
Wait, no, that's for later.
Cool.
Yeah, I can talk about that later. Oh, we still got a couple minutes. Any good comments yet?
I haven't been reading. Seems like my my connection's better tonight, right?
Yeah, definitely. Much better connection. Rob thinks he might have a theory on how he fixed it. We will see as the night goes on.
Yeah.
Time is at 7. I like to start at 7:02. My mom just popped on and said, "Hi, Kevin." She's upset that I didn't say hi to her last time. So now I'm going to say, "Hi, Mom."
Hi, Miss Gibson.
There, we both said hi.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, I did come prepared. Okay.
These graphics still are also very cool.
Thank you.
This is like legit now.
Yeah, I got the other ones done too. So I'll remove it at some point.
Makes our first two look like we're a couple of dicks.
Yeah, kind of want to go redo them. We're going to redo Drake Equation and Fermi just so I can make cool banners for it.
There's like all these comments popping up that my thing wasn't scrolling. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. The way I think I fixed it was using a different browser, for those of you commenting on that. And I hate to say it because I really like the other browser I was using more, but oh well. It seems like it's having it's just not good at that stuff, maybe.
Got a nice kind of bluish neon glow to you there, Rob. And I know it's bright and happy outside.
It is still bright. It's supposed to get really hot this week, like 90s.
Really? It's too hot for me.
Yeah. It's especially when you're stuck inside and you can't go out and get like a little.
Yeah, you can go on your balcony. All right. Well, I think we've given the 5 minutes. Shall we begin our introspection? of The Great Filter, our 4th studio album. Rob, do you have anything to say to start off? A lot to say, actually. I'll start.
I do. Why don't you start this one?
Okay. So the Great Filter itself is another SETI term. Kind of disregards the zoo hypothesis. Basically, since we haven't heard of life from other planets and the universe is billions of years old, then there must be a reason why they haven't come here. And one of them is the Great Filter, that perhaps the filter happens, something happens that kills off life forms before they get to the point of interstellar travel. There's a optimistic view of it that we are actually the most advanced race there is, which is nice, or something's going to kill us. I kind of don't agree with the theory as much. There could be lots of reasons for it. I mean, the zoo hypothesis is one of them. We might need to evolve to something that we couldn't even comprehend. So there's the Great Filter. Yeah.
So this was recorded at a place called B-Side Audio, which was in Ukrainian Village in Chicago. It was owned and run by the guy that engineer/produced the record, Neil Ostrovsky. And this was also kind of the first record where I had my own recording set up at my place. And so I did a lot of the pre-production for the album, and most of the keys and even some of the guitars were done at my Studio Edison, at the very kind of early stages where I was still kind of learning how to do that stuff. But we did a lot of the pre-production at my studio and then went to B-Side Audio to do the drums and the bass and some of the guitar and some of the other instruments. Did we do vocals we did vocals at B-Side Audio also. Yeah. We did do vocals at my place. And it was the first time we made a record where we were making full-on demos before we went into the studio. So we had the opportunity to have these full-on mixes done before we even set foot in the studio, which never had been done before. Everything before was written in a rehearsal and then recorded in the studio, whereas this was written in the studio and then finished in another studio, if you will. And that would set the stage for kind of how we did the rest of our albums from there. That's how we also did Secret Handshakes, and that's how we also did our last one, Choice of Catastrophes. And if we were going to make another one, that's probably how we would do it again.
We wrote a lot of songs for this album.
Yes.
More than any other album, I'd say.
We wrote a ton of songs for this album, over 30 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Rob.
So this one, I think I guess a little bit of the band history. We had kind of put Tubbring on hold for a little bit right before we made this record. And we were doing our other band. Me and Kevin started a new band called 3-2-1 Activate, which was a lot less spazzy and weird and strange, a little bit more rock and roll. I know at the time I was really into Queens of the Stone Age and Block Party, and it was a lot more guitar based and a lot less there was some keyboards in 3-2-1 Activate, but it was rock and roll, Why did we choose to put Tubbring on hold and do that? Well, we had been doing Tubbring for a long time, and we liked doing Tubbring, but it was also we never hit the big time or anything doing it. Not that we need to hit the big time, but it was just let's try something else for a little bit. And that's kind of what inspired the start of 3-2-1 Activate. And then kind of out of nowhere, we got asked to do Tubbring got asked to do a thing on MTV. And it was this kind of reality show / performance thing. We did multiple episodes of it. And they didn't want 3-2-1 Activate, even though we said, well, we kind of have turned into 3-2-1 Activate. They wanted Tubbring. And so we just said, okay, well, we'll do it. And we used the people that were in 3-2-1 Activate to do this MTV thing. And then once we did the MTV thing, kind of other things started rolling for Tubbring again then. Like we got a record deal from the End Records. And going back to Great Filter, this was the first album Tubbring ever made that was paid for by somebody else. Like the money for this record did not come out of our pockets, which to me was just the best thing that had ever happened in my life. I mean, they didn't give us a big budget. I think they gave us $15,000, which isn't a lot. I believe Drake cost like $35,000. Fermi cost about $30,000. So the End gave us $15,000 to do this. It wasn't a lot, but it was kind of okay because I had my home recording set up where I could start recording some of the stuff there. And $15,000 actually was like enough to do the record. And anyways, so it was just like, that was like the greatest thing on the planet to me. I remember at the time getting money to make a record, where every other record we ever made just made us so fucking broke for months and years afterwards. So that's kind of, I guess the explanation as to why there were new band members on this and why maybe it sounded a little more guitar driven than some of the previous records, and maybe a little less chaotic at times, which maybe some fans don't like, some fans were fine with. And another reason we had so many songs for this record is because we had kind of written like a whole 3-2-1 Activate record that we realized we weren't going to be able to put out. So we had kind of some of those songs to play with for this record. Although, if I'm not mistaken, actually the only one from 3-2-1 Activate was Charismatic Smile. Right. That actually made the cut. But we had a lot of other ones, and they were all kind of in the running to make the Great Filter. And that's I guess my long-winded intro.
Yeah. What do I got? I get here. Like you said, it's a little more straightforward for us, but I think that has something to do with what was on the radio at the time. It was one of the few times when what was on the radio and what I was enjoying kind of mixed at the same time. Like I liked that wave of like Franz Ferdinand, Hot Heat. I was listening to a lot of I'm a Robot at the time. But even I liked kind of the post-emo stuff that was coming out, the My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and that. It was kind of like when classic rock started taking rock and making it a little more theatrical and adding to it. I felt that was a good phase for music. It's around 2006 or so. And then lyrically or conceptually to the album, like the themes, I wanted to switch gears theme-wise, since it wasn't necessarily the band was relatively new, and even though I used the SETI name, I didn't want this to be part of kind of the SETI trilogy. So I started making it about like more of a real concept album, even though it ends up not being at all, but more so than I wrote before, and songs actually went into everything. But the fact that we just kept writing more and more songs, and then some would get lost, the kind of theme didn't work together, which worked with the Zoo Hypothesis, didn't work so much with Great Filter. So I lost kind of the more corporate, weird story I was telling. And I kind of course corrected around the end of writing. But I was hoping the songs still connected to the story would work, even if they weren't part of it. And sometimes they did, in my opinion, and sometimes they didn't. So, without further ado, shall we turn this off and go with the first song, Friends and Enemies. Rob, would you like me to start, or shall you?
Why don't you start?
Okay. Friends and Enemies. Yeah, this kind of fit. This went into this story I was writing that never got made. I considered this to fit a little later in the album. I would have put it, it's more of a turning point. It's kind of going in a bit of oppression and distrust, and thematically I saw it maybe around the 9th or 10th song. But it was a good song. It's a good song opener, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I remember when I guess I kind of came up with the music on this first and had recorded all of it, and then recorded the demo, and then Kevin had written over it. And I remember when he gave it back to me, I really loved all the lyrics and the vocal melodies, and just like epicness of the song. I really like the title here, Friends and Enemies. It reminds me of Beach Boys, Heroes and Villains. Kind of has that like feel to it. The ending, that kind of breakdown part with the like all the electronics that kind of melds from this rock song into this electro like song is definitely kind of like a Radiohead thing, which is, I guess, a constant inspiration between all these albums. I think like I was also listening to a lot of Muse at the time, so there's like a lot of that guitar stuff, like in the verses, is very like these crazy kind of cool harmonies, is kind of based on me listening to a bunch of that at the time. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of really cool. I'll probably say this a lot in this album. I think there's like a lot of cool guitar stuff on it. It's a guitar album, and like the opening riff is pretty epic, I would say. Like, cool way to start off the song with the drums kind of following it. It's kind of, I don't know. I like it. I think it's a cool album opener.
Cool. Moving on to the Charismatic Smile. As Rob had already said earlier, this was a 3-2-1 Activate track, which we liked a lot and brought over to Tubbering. Lyrically, this actually is where the idea of my weird corporate story began. I kind of saw this kind of like a scene, perhaps a movie scene or something, where someone's taking control and wows everyone in a boardroom, but has their own motives. I think this song works by itself, definitely. And I like this one. It's always a good song.
Yeah, I love the like guitar drum gallop kind of like thing. It's and you've got your really cool kind of Promise Keeper screams in this one at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, do that Promise Keeper thing here.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I love the lyrics. What does Rise Above the Noise mean?
Just everyone talking, the din in a room while they're discussing things, and you kind of step out and call for attention.
Yeah, it's cool. I for whatever reason, like, I don't know, like this one maybe seemed like better live than the recording. I don't know. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I liked it better live, but I didn't think the recording came out bad.
Yeah, the recording came out pretty good. It's got some cool. There's another thing that happens a lot in this album. So what year was this? 2007?
It came out in 2007. I think we wrote it in 2006.
So I was kind of like obsessed with going onto YouTube and pulling off like random things. And there's a like they come out as samples in the songs, and there's this weird like German girls singing something about my name in there, like in there, and there's a lot of that. It's like analog YouTube like sampling on this record that I did with my little handheld cassette, and then I put in the songs. And yeah, I don't know. There's fun stuff like that all over this one.
It's cool. 7 Exodus. Why don't you start this? I have a lot to say about this. Not a lot, but.
Yeah, Kevin's got the best part of the explanation on this one. And he'll tell you about the lyrics. But I guess musically, I think this was definitely inspired by me. Hail to the Thief had come out maybe that year or the year before. And I know musically I wanted to do something that sounded like We Stuck Young Blood, where it's kind of like piano driven with these stomps and claps. And kind of bitter, sour, beautiful, kind of, like stompy, room sounding, organic piano kind of thing. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. Man, most of the rest of my notes are about your
You know what I'm going to say, yeah. All right.
And your story that I know you're going to tell, or I hope you tell.
Yes. So I was sitting on my computer, had CNN on in the background. 2006 CNN, which is a little different than now. And I think this is one of the early realizations that they were just as much sensationalist news as everyone else. And Nancy Grace had popped on the scene with her annoying voice, and she was talking. The big story at the time was John Mark Carr. John Mark Carr, he came out and said that he killed JonBenet Ramsey, which is a big, white girl gets killed and everyone's concerned. So he came out and said he did it. It was a weird story, and Nancy Grace would have people on the show all the time and talking about it. And after a while, it became obvious he didn't do it. So the news cycle changed, and that was that. John Mark Carr, one of his sons was named Seven Exodus, and I really liked that name, which in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have named a song after the poor kid, but I liked his name. And I got a message actually from Seven Exodus himself on MySpace telling me that he heard that I had wrote a song about him. If I remember correctly, he seemed cool with it. And I wanted to write him back and talk to him a little more and explain it to him. But I think he was 14 or something at the time, and MySpace had something where an adult couldn't send a message to a minor, which is a really good policy. But I never got to have a longer talk to him about it. And if anyone knows Seven Exodus, he could come here and chat. I couldn't talk to him before about it, but it's more about the media creating a character than actually him.
You write a song about a person, you title it after them, they write you to tell you, oh, cool, you wrote a song about me, and then you can't respond.
And then I can't respond.
Bummer.
It's a bummer. I hope he's doing well.
Hi, Seven Exodus. Hope you're good.
All right.
He lives in Wisconsin, right?
Did he? Does he? You know more than me.
Yeah. Well, and before we go to the next song, well, I'm almost positive he was from Wisconsin, but what's your whole take on the JonBenet Ramsey thing? Because I watched the documentary there is on it.
Yeah, I don't think much about it. I don't know much about that story. I just know what was on the news. Huh?
I think about it all the time.
You think about it all the time? It's just always on your mind.
I'm into it though. Like, yeah, I've watched it.
It was a snapshot of that. It was really obvious right off the bat that this guy didn't do it, but he came off weird and creepy. So of course they love to pile on and make a story out of it, which wasn't a story. And that was it.
Funny.
Okay. Moving right along. Get help now. Rob, I have almost nothing written for this song because you wrote it.
Okay, yeah.
I have. It was fun to play live.
It was so fun to play live. And I'll go out there and say it. This is actually one of my favorite tubbing songs of all time. Even though maybe a lot of this record didn't feel like traditional tubbing, I kind of thought this one still was. It was like this chaotic, like it's kind of a noisy song. There's like screaming throughout the whole thing, which again was from early YouTube days, or not early YouTube days, but me getting into YouTube and like recording. I would just search screams and then record them on my thing and then put them in the song. And a lot of the screaming is actually from that famous YouTube video of that kid watching the computer, and then the Exorcist pops up and he goes really high pitched over and over again. A lot of the screams are of that kid.
I didn't know that. That's great.
You know which video I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of a famous one. And so a lot of that, like the really high-pitched screaming is him. Yeah, it's like, it's probably another, like, it was kind of inspired, I think. It was kind of Blood Brothers inspired, leftover Blood Brothers, like, you know, it's got this noisy, aggressive, it's kind of mathy. We're counting out like insane amount of hits, and there's silence for like 5 seconds in the middle of the song, which was really kind of cool and experimental. I mean, and yeah, I like, I really love what you did with your vocals with the break it, pick the glass. I don't think I came up with that, and I thought that was
really, thank you.
Yeah, that's really great. And yeah, I don't know, like it's one of those songs that makes you kind of uncomfortable to listen to too, because again, there's just screaming and just like, I don't know, it does kind of something that I think is cool. That, you know, it's almost not enjoyable and stressful to listen to, like in a certain way, like in a comforting way. And I don't know, that's kind of cool to do that in a song, and that's my take on this one.
Cool. Well, let's move along. When the Crash Happened. So let's see. It's the last song written for the album. I remember we wanted something a little heavier and crazier to fit on there, so this is what came of it. I was writing lyrics. I was driving home after losing at the casino, and I was in a bad mood, and it was kind of just doing stream of conscious, upset, weird lyrics, kind of pissy lyrics. I started thinking crash because I'm driving, so thinking about there was a Wall Street had crashed earlier. It's obviously in a car could crash, and I felt like I just crashed at the casino. And I don't know, it kind of worked together. I felt we were kind of getting our groove on this song, and it was the last song we wrote. But I felt this one worked for me a lot. I liked it.
This was the last song we wrote for the album?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You named it the MP3 tentative title was Hail Mary.
Because it's like last minute. It's like, hey, maybe this will work. That's exactly. Really funny. Right before we went to the studio. Yeah, we were writing up until like the day we went into the studio on this record. Again, I think there was like 30 or 40 songs that we had written. And I did not realize that was one of the last ones. That's cool. Yeah, I really like this song. It's one of my favorites on the album. I thought your lyrics were about a backseat driver.
That's in there, definitely. Yeah, everything to do with a car. I mean, going over what I'm saying, a lot of these lyrics are about, and sometimes I feel bad, like after the show, like, well, it's also about this, and I try to fit in different themes in a song. So just doing overviews during this whole introspective. But yeah, that's part of it.
Musically, like it was kind of inspired by Danny Elfman's soundtrack, The Forbidden Zone. It's got this like frantic, and if you like thing to it, and it's got these weird keyboards and these little parts that last for 2 seconds and then go back into the rest of the song. If you listen to like Alphabet Song or Witch's Egg on the Forbidden Zone soundtrack, you kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. It's just got this jumpy, poppy, like weird, like just bizarre, but at the same time kind of like fun music the whole time. And I love the drums in the song. Like I wrote most of the drum beats for the record, but like you know, like the drummer Chris, who did a great job, tweaked them, and I think he tweaked this one a lot, and it came out way better than I think I could have written it on my own. Me and Kevin used to be obsessed with this other Chicago band, the Baltimores, and Dave from the Baltimores played on almost all the Tubbring records. They would play sax and trumpet. They were like the sax and trumpet players on any of the songs you've heard by Tubbring, probably, except for on the last album. And there's this great part at the very end of the song that they come in, and it sounds like a Baltimore song, which I like loved, and it's like one of my favorite, like 2 seconds or 10 seconds of the album, the very ending of the song.
Agree with that. All right. Killers in Love. You start on this one, and I'll jump in at the end.
Okay. So
mostly you anyway. You wrote this one.
I guess I wrote most of it, but you wrote the second verse.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
Credit for it. You said you can have this one. I think that was one of those that you did that.
Yeah. I don't like the lines I wrote. In fact, they stand out to me. I like your lines when anything I wrote come in. I'm like, ugh.
Really?
Yeah, there's a line in there that I trying to be clever, and it bugs me.
I like your lines in it, for what it's worth. I mean, it was better than I could. I remember not being able to think, what the hell do I do on a second verse? So you saved the day no matter what on that. So Killers in Love, I mean, it's kind of straightforward. It was like an homage to Bonnie and Clyde, like the story of Bonnie and Clyde, and also like sort of an homage to Serge Gainsbourg and Brigitte Bardot's song Bonnie and Clyde, about Bonnie and Clyde. So in my mind, it kind of had to be a duet. And then I was like, bonus points if I can get some French vocals in there. And so the female singer sings French in the beginning, and it's basically just the lines from the song kind of reworked for French. And I cannot remember her name for the life of me, but that was the
comments. We're all talking about her. In fact,
really?
Frederick from Unexpected is on here.
Oh, hey, Frederick.
Says you stole our singer for that one.
That was awesome. And what's her name again?
Oh, I forget.
I don't have the album. I don't actually have the physical copy of this, and it sucks because I wanted to like be ready. Anyways,
the album.
She did awesome. She sounds amazing. Roxanne, thank you, Frederick.
Thank you.
She sounds awesome on it. She was the singer of Montreal band called Unexpect, and we had toured with them. They were also on the End Records, and her vocals, she's doing all the background operatic stuff as well as the lead, and it just like totally makes the song, in my opinion. Chris Wicken did an amazing job with the drums on this one. The drums are like insanely hard, and he kills them. I wrote down Kevin screaming sounds awesome, as that usually does, and that's my Bonnie and Clyde song.
My take on this song. We wrote a lot of these because we were demoing. And a lot of times with songs, we had played them out on the road for a while. With many of these songs, we had not. And I think sometimes, especially with rock songs, because this was more of a guitar-based album, I think songs come in their own when you play them out a little more. And we hadn't done that on this. And I think a good example is there's the Fearless Records live performance of this on YouTube, Killers in Love. And at that point, we've been playing it out for about 6 months or so. And I like that version more. I think it's got a little more energy, just kind of our live thing, which is rare. I usually like our studio versions more. But the way that song got a little more aggressive, I started liking it more.
Nice.
Okay. Moving on. Yeah, this one. No One Wants to Play. I'll start it. What do I have here? This is back to the corporate story. This is one that I think works on its own, but this was definitely part of my theme that didn't happen. This song actually went viral because of the Hey You New York, What Song Are You Listening To video, which was nice. In fact, I could do another thing here. Does anyone know who this person is? Because I want to thank him. He did... Where is it? I got to play it. This guy.
No One Wants to Play by Tubbring.
Let's remove that from the screen. So I don't know. Shit. Close that off. That's all I have. Oh, that's not all I have to say. So No One Wants to Play. Yes, that is all I have to say about that.
So maybe to explain, in case you didn't know what that video is, there was this YouTube series of a guy walking around different cities asking them, random people, what they were listening to on their iPods. And that guy on the New York one said, Tubbring, No One Wants to Play. And it sounds such like a basic, silly thing, but we got tons of like streams and emails all from that little tiny clip of a New Yorker saying, I'm listening to Tubbring, No One Wants to Play.
I'm glad you explained that. I forgot to give any backstory. Just here's a half second of a video. Thank you, Rob. Thanks for catching that.
No problem. But yeah, it was cool. This song, I remember I had written the demo or made the music on a demo, given it to Kevin. Kevin came back and gave me, the vocals. And I remember listening to it, and I was like, I think he'd given me like 20 songs back at once. And this one was like the standout one. This was like my favorite one out of all the demos he had made. And it like just first listen, I think I listened to it like 5 times. It was at the beginning of the songs he had given me on the CDR. And I remember before I even went to the next song, I like listened to that 5 times. I thought he did such a great job with the lyrics and the vocals, and he does these great, like, especially, I guess, focusing in on like the mariachi part, which is like the bridge of the song. We go into this very like faithfully sounding mariachi band part, all with like classical guitars and the 30-second note clapping that they do. And I feel like we nailed it. Like we kind of nailed it.
Cool. When you gave me this song, yeah, definitely. That whole part was super
and it's
cool.
like, not that I know or we know anything about mariachi music, but like when I listen to like mariachi stuff today, I'm like, yeah, we did like pretty all right on that. It sounds pretty legit. And and your vocals sound great over that part as well. I didn't know how you were gonna write to that because it's like, is he gonna like write like a mariachi like commercial or something? But yeah, when I got back, I was so into it, and also
go on.
I was just gonna pat my own back with the classical guitar solo on there. Like that's like a pretty
music. The guitar sounded amazing. You were doing all that stuff, right there.
Yeah. And how many, like, it was just kind of cool. You know, it was one of those things where, like, one of the fun things about tubbering is we could be anything we wanted to be. Like, we were, like, genre-less, or we did every genre. And it was just cool. Like, you know, I think if you would have said in Drake Equation, oh, you're going to do this song with classical guitars, I'd probably, even then, I would have been like, that's pretty far out there even for tubbering. And even though it comes out very, like, kind of straightforward, it's still, I don't know, I think it's still cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I liked the line, "You're the winner of a game no one wants to play." I was happy. Pat myself on the
Did
back.
you explain what these lyrics were about? What was this?
It's part of my, I did. It's part of my weird corporate story that didn't end up working. This was losing power and then going into something, but I don't know. Fell upon. So we will move along to the Requiem for a Robot. Guess I have to take this one. I wrote this and recorded this in my basement. Where's my notes? I actually looked into requiems, how to write a requiem, what they say. I joined a Latin-speaking message board where people try to have fun with figuring out how to translate things into Latin. So they were all really nice to me, and we kind of worked together to make my Requiem for a Robot in Latin, and then just sang a bunch of weird vocals over it. And do you have anything to say about this, or shall I move right into?
You produced the music too. Kevin produced all the music.
Tubbering thing. I did see this. I said this earlier as the first song on the album. It's kind of the Requiem for the Robot, perhaps leaving him behind. And I thought that it would go well into what would technically be the first song on the album, Life in Transition. The lyrics for that, or Life in Transition, was based off kind of a midnight movie. The name of it was, let's see, Patakatsi. It's kind of this weird midnight, like I said, midnight movie, time-lapse thing where it shows life in transition. That's what it translates to, life in transition. It kind of shows progress and modernization and how technology is ingrained in our life. And it's something to just watch and zone out. And that's where I got the idea for the title. And I kind of thought it worked too, because it kind of set the stage for this weird story I was kind of telling, and kind of a little wink wink that it's about changing, and the band had changed too. And I thought that was kind of a nice intro into it. But yeah, this song I'm just kind of mediocre on. I don't like it or hate it, but it came out okay.
Yeah, I know musically I had entered into a remix contest, and I, like, I've never really been into doing things like necessarily the way you're supposed to or anything like that. So everybody was doing dance remixes. That's what, when somebody says remix, they kind of think dance remix. But I thought, like, I want to remix it, but I don't want it to be a dance song. So I made it this Middle Eastern. It didn't have the drums in my remix. It was just like this other song, and it was like a lot of that. Some of the guitar was in there, but it was mostly like based around like what you hear as the percussion and the Middle Eastern-y sounding stuff in it. And anyways, I totally lost the remix. Everybody hated it. And so I added guitar and drums, and that became a tubbering song that I gave to Kevin.
I remember you showed it to me. You told me that story, and I'm like, I like this. What's wrong with them? So, it was good that it got to become yeah, I was happy it got to become a tubbering song.
Yeah.
Okay. Glass Companion. You want to start this, or shall I?
I'll start it.
Okay.
I remember like liking this song, but like maybe not really thinking about it that much. I think today I had listened to the record for the first time in like probably 10 years, and it was my favorite one on the album. It's like, I love your vocal melodies in it. I think you did a great job with the lyrics and the melodies. I remember being in the studio and having our two horn players, Dave and Dave, play to this song. And, I had the parts for them. But then I remember telling them, like, play like you're drunk. Like, everything should be, like, kind of sloppy, which kind of, like, went along with Kevin's theme of the song about, like, alcohol, which he'll probably talk about in a minute. But so, like, if you listen to the horns, well, especially at the end, they're playing, like, really sloppy. But through the whole thing, they kind of, like, are really loose sounding, and they're playing like they're drunk, which is kind of a cool concept to have in a song about alcohol. I mean, I'm not sure what I was listening to. It's definitely like Radiohead inspired, I think.
Really? Radiohead inspired?
Yeah, a little bit. I wrote that, but I don't know why. I think it was like a little bit inspired by that last song with all the woodwind in Kid A, or maybe it's on anyways. And then, what else I found kind of ironic about this song was, like, we had written this song about, or you had written this song about, like, kind of alcohol and, like, all that stuff. And we weren't really big partiers or drinkers. And this song was kind of, I don't know, you could take it away. But, yeah, kind of ironic in that way.
You covered most things. I don't have much written. I have one of my favorites from the album, which you said too. And as I said before, one of the good things of having a wonderful band of musicians to give me songs is a lot of times you can get a feel for a song hearing the song. So that helps with lyrics. And this sounded like a drinking song. So I wrote a drinking song. That's really all I have to say about it.
It's a good drinking song.
All right. Moving along. Making No Sound at All. That one is all Rob Kleiner.
Yeah, I guess I wrote the music and the lyrics and melodies on this one. I think there's a version of it on one of my solo albums. I could be wrong about that, but I think there is. I remember I actually wrote this song while we were recording Fermi, but I didn't think it was going to be for Tubbering ever. I was just trying to, like, do stuff that didn't sound like Tubbering on the side of Tubbering, and so probably the version of it that was on my solo record, I'm guessing, came out first, and that probably sounds totally different, although I don't really know what that sounds like. I haven't heard it in a long time. But yeah, I don't know. It's like there's no real hidden meaning behind the lyrics. It's like I was taking all these, like, phrases, about being quiet, like silence is golden. That was like a slogan. Yeah, and then, like, when the kids are in the car and the dad's driving and they're making all the noise and they say, if you don't be quiet, I'll turn that kid's car right back around. And so all the lyrics were just kind of supposed to be these phrases about being quiet, like not a creature is stirring, not even a mouse, like from the Christmas Carol or whatever. And it was just kind of like taking all these phrases, and Tom York does that kind of thing a lot. And that's kind of how the lyrics were inspired. And even the title is kind of like the Radiohead song, like How to Disappear Completely, like making no sound at all. It was kind of inspired by that, like, absolutism in his titles sometimes that he does. And that's...
if anyone's wondering, we are not a Mr. Bungle ripoff. We are a Radiohead ripoff.
Much more ripping off of Radiohead throughout these records.
The only thing I have written about this is a good song, and I knew the old version, is that I wanted to try to sing the chorus full voice, and I could do the first part, the making no, granted an octave higher, but the sound at all, I tried to do that, the sound at all, and it would have to be an octave higher than that, and I just couldn't reach it. And that always upset me that I couldn't hit those notes.
It's funny because these days, when I write a song, the first thing you do is, like, figure out the range of the vocalist and, like, make sure it's in his range. Like, if we want to get really high on the chorus, can he hit this note? No. Okay, well, we have to drop the key of the song. But, like, back when you're in a rock band, it's just, I feel bad. The singer's just like, this is what you got, buddy.
Deal with it, yeah.
We wrote it in this key. Deal with it.
All right. Where was that? The Truth. Next song. Why don't you start? Because I'm gonna bring this song right into the next song when I go.
Sure. The Truth, the music, our guitarist at the time, Jeff Enochian, wrote. We had, these new members. We had Jeff Enochian, Trevor, and Chris Wicken. And even though I was writing a lot of the stuff, like most of the music, like 99% of it, I was encouraging them to write stuff too. And Jeff had written, everybody kind of wrote a couple things for the record, but not everything made it. Again, we had like 40 songs. So Jeff had written this music and I had really liked it and I thought he did a great job. And so I don't think I demoed it and helped produce it, but I didn't really have anything.
I was not aware of this. I thought you wrote this song.
I did not. I made like that sample in the beginning and I did production things on it. And
that sample was awesome. That sample is the best part of the song. Yeah.
I think I had written that song.
Hearing that, I wanted to turn that into a song, but we kind of wasted it on making it an intro to something.
We should have.
Lyrically, this one definitely fit my corporate story. Kind of felt it was a build up to action, maybe a breaking point. Although it wasn't necessarily that important of a chapter. But playing it, I really thought we were going to drop it. It seemed, because like you said, we wrote like 30 songs and so many got dropped. And this seemed like one we weren't too excited about. So lyrically, I was still working on this story. I kind of rewrote the call to action for another song because I thought this was going to be dropped. And those lyrics became Wrong Kind of Message. So Wrong Kind of Message, in a weird way, I kind of dealt with similar themes, and I didn't even like this song much, and I thought this was going to be dropped too. But instead of dropping both The Truth and Wrong Kind of Message, we used both of them and put them right next to each other on the album. So I kind of don't think about these songs much. I forget they're in our catalog.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny to me is, okay, so Kevin talked about it. We didn't think this song was going to make the record. This was like on the chopping block. In fact, we thought it absolutely wasn't. And we had another 3-2 on Activate song that was supposed to go on the record in its place called Dynamite. And we thought Dynamite and Charismatic Smile were the two songs from 3-2 on Activate that were going on this new Tubbering record. And I remember us thinking, Dynamite, that's like the single of the record. It was like the best song we had written for it. We were like so happy. We're like, man, no matter what, that everybody's going to love that song Dynamite. But by the time we had recorded it, I don't know what happened. We would listen to it back. Not only is this not the single, like, I don't even want this on the album. It sounds like so not fun. Am I remembering that right?
You're 100% correct. Yeah, that's so my point.
And so we had recorded one other song for the record, Wrong Kind of Message. So it was like, is Wrong Kind of Message better than Dynamite? And we were like, yeah, it is. So we put this on at the last minute because we had also recorded it in these sessions. And okay, funny enough, I know you mentioned you didn't think about this song that much. It's actually one of my favorites on the record. And listening to it now, even more so. I don't know, like, I love your vocal melodies in it. I think the guitar stuff in the song is bar none the best guitar lines I've ever written on guitar. Like, I'm not trying to like pat my own back, but I listen back and I'm like, that's like, those are really cool guitar riffs. And like, I don't know, they're kind of like, they're these 32 bar lines that don't repeat.
Yeah.
They're kind of
bring up that guitar solo in Wrong Kind of Message is awesome. That you're doing crazy stuff on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually, and I had a note about the guitar solo. I have, when you're like a little kid in school, I don't know if you did this, but in 7th grade, my teacher had me write a letter to my future self that he was going to mail to me like, I don't know, like 20 years later or something like that. I can't remember, but I got it back, and I got when I was in my 20s or whatever. And it was this letter from me. And the one thing in there was like, and I must have been just learning guitar back when I was in 7th grade, but I remember I was terrible at doing solos. And so the one thing the letter said was like, hope you can do solos now, man. And so if I could send any song back to my 7th grade self, I would send him wrong kind of message. I'd be like, yo, your boy played that song. That solo. That's me. You got it, kid.
It's a great story. Did you keep that letter?
I don't have the letter. I wish I did.
Well, you can guitar solo now, Rob. Very well. Young you would be proud.
I can guitar solo now.
All right. And the final song of the album, My Job Here is Done. I took the last two. You can start here.
I thought this was the last song that we wrote for this album, but you're saying it's When the Crash Happened.
I think it was.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. I just remember that Hail Mary.
This was late in the game too. Like within like a week of us going into the studio.
Yeah. Around the end.
And I don't really have a lot of notes on it. But it's one of my favorites on the record. I love the outro where we kind of do our classic tub ring, wind the album down into like kind of a mellower mood after all this like bigness and craziness. I don't know. I don't have much more. I mean, I really like the kind of like chanty, clappy things we're doing in it and the weird piano. I remember I'm a terrible piano player and I had to play the bass line with my left hand or whatever. I had to like switch my hand. So it kind of looked cool. Like I played it like this live and I wasn't doing that to show off. It was like, just like the one hand was way more complicated than the other. And I sucked with my right hand. But anyways, yeah, that's my take on that one.
Remember the time writing the lyrics, you and I were both playing City of Heroes, which was a multiplayer online role-playing game. And the idea of this song came that I had maxed out my character. And I was kind of bored running from different areas to try to fight crime because my character was so powerful, it was easy. So I started thinking of kind of a bored superhero. Kind of a bit like Homesteader of the Boys on Amazon before deconstructing superheroes was a thing. Not so much in mainstream. This was 2006. So, kind of looking at it, I've done that, has his own, not as malevolent reasons, but that was My Job Here is Done.
Nice. Should we open it up to questions?
I think it's question time.
Maybe I can head one question off at the past. I know you've been ranking the albums, and I guess I have been too. And I have a feeling I know where it's going, but maybe we'll get that. I think
I've made it a little obvious where I'm going with this.
Yeah, let's hear what you say.
Okay, the rankings. Yeah, this one's going to be 6 for me. There's a lot of songs on here I like. Once again, I don't want to badmouth like our album as much. There's so many things that didn't work for me on here and songs I don't even think about that I have to give this a 6.
I'm giving it. It's my 5th favorite record. I guess I enjoyed Fermi a little less. There's a lot of things I like about it, but I think there's like I don't know. There was like I remember sensing frustration also on finishing this. I feel like again I'm going back to like the label had given us like a $15,000 budget to record this album, and I remember thinking. I look back. I think of myself as like one of those starving dogs on the street. If you hand them food, they're like, they just gobble it right up, And that's kind of how I felt at the time. It was like they're giving us money, get that money. And it was just like I think looking back, like I should have just chilled out. We could have, even though we wrote 40 songs, maybe like we needed to write some more. It was like we were immediately recording some songs that I knew. Again, there was like a couple that Kevin had mentioned that I didn't love. But I remember also in the label did not pressure us to go in the studio at all. I think it was just my mentality of like, well, they might not give us this money if we don't take it and use it. And so that was, I guess, a silly factor, maybe not an excuse.
Yeah. Like I've heard a lot of people say this is one of their favorite albums by us, and that's great. It doesn't upset me. It makes me quite happy that it's good to hear that you can be like, oh, I don't know about it. Someone really likes it. So that makes me feel better about it. Just personally, I felt there was a few missteps on this one, especially coming off of Zoo Hypothesis, which I ranked as 1 to go in your next album is your least favorite. But like I said, definitely some good songs on there too.
And you know what? Like it was, yeah. It's, and I guess it could be a polarizing album because maybe it sounded very straightforward compared to some of our stuff. I've heard people say that, but you know what? It's like Tubbering didn't have rules, and like the one thing is like we can be whoever we want to be on any given song or on any given album, and I think we were exercising that right, and we were both listening to a lot of rock music, and that's kind of what inspired it. At the time.
All right. Well, to our questions. I think I saw one on here.
Yes, the band is the Baltimores. You probably can't find much about them because they don't exist now, and they didn't put out stuff in the streaming age. So I have both their records on CD and in my iTunes. But they're amazing. The guys from the Baltimores went on to do the band Muka Patsa, who's pretty big now. And also the other Dave does a band called Pawns and Fleshmen. And both of those, Muka Patsa and Pawns and Fleshmen, you kind of hear the Baltimores in them. So aside from like me giving you the Baltimore songs.
Well, what you're not bringing up is Pum or Deli Meat. That's right. In Baltimore's Pum and Deli Meat. And
those were the Baltimore guys, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any songs that were cut from the record that you would have liked to see on there? No. For that many songs, I think we probably picked the best, and I still feel like I said, that's how I felt. We started getting our groove back around when the crash happened and everything, and that's when we should have started writing. Another great thing, before the album even came out, immediately, right after we recorded, you wrote and recorded, or we both recorded those songs that we released on the Alter Egos disc, the This Is the Sound and Touch. Yeah. Those aren't the greatest songs, but like immediately it was like, that's the direction we need to go to. This is what the album should be more. And I remember that's part of the reason why I wanted to put those out right away too.
Yeah, those are fun.
I think that, that was immediately after we recorded the album.
Yeah. And those, I don't know. The timing was just weird. It's hard to explain.
There are a few. So I've taken a different approach on all of our things. I've put out our demos. I kind of have this warts and all view. You know the band now. If you hear something terrible by us, fine. I do think I have a demo or two from Great Filter that I've held on to. Because I think if people hear them, even if you think we're a good band, retroactively you'll dislike all of our songs and hear how bad some of them are. Me, of course. I'm blaming me. I'll look. I'll see if I have anything left, and if so, I'll release them to you. And
it takes two to tango, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can ruin a song.
Frederick asks, any thoughts in retrospect on the End Records? I loved working with the End Records. They put out this for us, and they put out Secret Handshakes, our next record. And they also put out Kevin and I's side project, Super 8 Brothers. They were incredibly generous and awesome to us. And it was again, like my dream come true to actually get money from a record label to put out a record. And they were the first label that ever did that for me in my career. And they're great. I love them.
Cool. Seeing good questions here. People aren't asking questions. What song do you think was strongest vocally for the album? Or no, this album. Let me read. Friends, Enemies, Care. I don't know. Charismatic Smile, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Class Companion. Even though I'm not doing anything hard, I liked the vocals, how they turned out on that.
Was Danny Elfman an influence in Life in Transition? Danny Elfman, I think, always an influence. And yeah, those like xylophones and those marimbas are definitely Danny Elfman influence. Somebody asked about our promo Adidas jackets. We took pictures in these matching Adidas jackets. What's the story behind them? It's a pretty funny story. We had like $100 and we all went to the mall and said, let's find something we can take pictures that look all the same. And we went into like many mall stores and tried on many different things. I remember at one point we had these Japanese baseball jerseys, and they were like with Japanese teams on them, and they looked bizarre as hell. And they would have been, that's what we would have worn, except they were so small. I mean, like, not to stereotype, but they were just like unwearable.
Yeah, I'm a short guy, and I couldn't fit in any of them.
Yeah, so the Adidas store had the track jackets, and they all matched, so we got those. And that was probably the only color they had, so we went with that.
People were asking about the cover art. My idea, I had said with Zoo Hypothesis, it was really nice that they gave us a good budget and whatever we wanted to for the printing. So I was trying to come up with some cool idea for this album. And what I wanted to do was actually have this cut out, like not the little scissor thing, and actually get them die cut made that way. And then the thing would be, you see a picture through each window, and then when you open it up, it's kind of a bigger scene. So like the cutout would be over the tree there, and you open it up and see the TV. And we couldn't get the die cut, so that's why I wrote on there to cut it yourself. And as much planning, and there was a lot of planning, and even talked to the printer. Some of the pictures didn't line up, so that upset me. But I called in a lot of favors. We've always had a lot of good artists help me out. Who do we have do some pictures on here? I think Tanner did some photos. John Colbeck did a really cool thing on there. Janelle Miller, Amanda Fairfield, which is Tanner's girl, Tanner. And Tanner helped me put this all together with the artwork. And that is the Great Filter artwork.
Brian asked if there were other songs from my solo record that were going to go on Great Filter. No, just Making No Sound at All. What was the other question? Was Get Help Now and Stop This Now written together? No, absolutely not. But the Stop This Now title is obviously kind of like a callback to Get Help Now, which we wrote a little bit later. Definitely not together.
Yeah.
People have been asking what happened to the band members before, the older, and then I also see a question asking where are the members now. I don't know. You'll have to ask them, find them. They're probably in the book. I mean, I'm friends with some of them I lost touch with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you answered that well and diplomatic. Like, they're guys. You can ask. They're in a band. So yeah, there's my answer. Any good questions? Are there any 3, 2, 1?
How on earth does it take 15,000 to make an album? Are you saying that's a lot or a little? Because again, we spent like 30,000, 35,000 on Drake. We spent 25 or 30,000 on Fermi, and then Zoo. I don't remember how much we spent on that. Maybe like 20, 25. The thing is like this was like digital age stuff. So prices in the last 15 years have been coming down on recording. It's been becoming cheaper and cheaper to make quality record, of not necessarily a lot of money. And bands we were touring with, even on small labels, were getting much more than that, like $40,000 to record their album. So I don't know whether you're saying it's a lot or a little, but at the time it worked out to being just right, because that's what we did it for. And if I didn't have my own setup to record some of the pre-production, it would have definitely cost more. So if anything, that was a bargain. But I guess it was a bargain because I was able to do a lot of the recording at my studio on this one. Again, it was kind of like half and half at my studio and the other studio.
The Warden Motif found that paper he was talking about. Thank you. I will check that out later. Even though I sent it to you, but I don't remember it so much, so I'll read that.
What's the favorite song on this album to play live?
Get Help Now.
Get Help Now probably was my favorite.
Was a good one. I grew to like playing Killers in Love live. I know I was a little pouty at first, but I did grow to like that one. God's Companion was fun, but it didn't sound like the album. I liked how it came out on the album with all the stuff and percussion you guys put into it. It's fun to play, but I liked the album sound. And that's that. They were all, the ones we actually kept playing live, I think were fun to play live, and that's why we did it. My Job Here Is Done was fun to play live. We had the clap where Ben said we were always off on our clap. I thought we were on that.
Was there a debate about putting Rock Your Body on this album? We recorded Rock Your Body at the same time, which was the Justin Timberlake cover, which we had played on MTV right before we recorded this album. No, we never, it wasn't like, that's just kind of a goofy goofball song. We weren't going to put it on our record. It was fun, to play on the show, and it turned out great, but we never really considered putting it on the record.
Was there any Kevin's ARG style Easter eggs for this one? There was. I planned more. There was a website in the thing, The Great Shift, tubbering.com/The Great Shift. And I wanted to make more puzzles. I think it'd make it really easy. Most people got the songs right away, but we did have a couple songs on the website. Heathens and The Uninitiated. And then 21 Pilots stole my song Heathens and made it their own.
After the album was finished, did you have the typical "this is our best work yet" album? No, I did not feel that way. I was frustrated at the end of this one. There were things that were on it that we were putting out that I already knew I kind of didn't like. A couple things, not to like dog the album, but there were things on it I know that I wish we had more time, which I guess we kind of explained earlier. Some of the outside reasons why it was done at the time it was done, but so unfortunately, no, did not have that.
I remember we had a talk. I remember just being at a restaurant and something, and even I brought up the idea, like maybe not want to put it out, or I hold on to it, but that wasn't really an option. So no, I don't feel like after it was done, we're like, yes, and then time took its way. It was more when it was done, I remember being like, we could do better, but we put it out.
Yeah, it goes back to something we talked about on the other ones. It's like you just gotta, like, as an artist, you just gotta, like, put it out there. Like maybe maybe it didn't work, but you know what? Like, look at it this way: the albums we made before this didn't make us rich. We weren't like living the high life. That tub ring sound, that classic tub ring sound. That's what all the people are gonna miss. You know what I mean? It's like. That wasn't like we were broke. So it was like, yeah, try something a little different. We're listening to a lot of rock stuff these days. And I like a lot of the stuff and a lot of the songs and a lot of the songs I love. And, and then we made the album and we put it out, Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a train wreck. There's definitely some stuff I like on it. Just, I don't know. Felt we could do a little better. I think we have since then. Yeah. Well, any good questions?
Was the song Touch written for a specific album, or how did that end up on Alter Ego? So Kevin kind of touched on this a second ago, no pun intended, that we did Touch, and that other song that was on the promo CD, we made that in my recording studio after Great Filter, like right after. It would have almost probably went on the album. And so they weren't on that, although those were two cool songs. If we would have written them a couple weeks earlier, they probably would have went on the album.
Yeah. Would you guys ever do a reimagined album of your own songs that you think you can redo? I don't think so. I think we discussed that. Those songs are out there. They're there. If we want to put out stuff, we could write new songs. They have their place in the world. I guess I could be a hypocrite, and who knows, someday we might redo something, and then thought you said you would never do that. Everyone's a hypocrite. But at this moment in time, I don't see myself doing a reimagined thing.
Yeah, in a fun, perfect world where everybody's got all the time and money in the world, it would be cool to do like Bite the Wax Tadpole with an orchestra. That would be fucking cool. But you know what? Like, that's just not going to happen. Like, to whose benefit? The 100 of us that that know what that song is, it's just not gonna happen.
So yeah, I guess that answers that question. Woo! Other than the 4, 3, 2, 1 Activate demos and the radio show, are there any other recordings? What do you mean by that? You mean like the demos? Oh, I see. He's still talking about I don't know what you're talking about. I can't answer your question. I shouldn't have asked it.
I think we've covered everything pretty well.
Oh, Mike Doty did do that. He's talking about people redoing their album. I'm actually a big Mike Doty fan. I love Soul Coughing. And I think a couple of his songs that he redid on that album are decent, but you're right. As a whole, I don't mind the redoing of True Dreams of Wichita. You should check that out, Rob. I know you like that song. He's redone it. So
in what way does he redo it?
I guess he's got a big thing that he doesn't like the other guys in Soul Coughing anymore, and he's not made peace with the fact that those songs were good and the band helped. So he kind of wanted to redo them all, the stuff he wrote with just him playing on it, so he would have the rights to them. And some of them turned out good, some of them not so much.
I never really liked the stuff he did after Soul Coughing.
There's a few good things in there, but yeah, he went more of the Dave Matthews hippie direction, which I guess worked for him. Built a big following, but yeah, I didn't follow it either. Kevin's disappointment in the album, what didn't work for you? Why did your corporate concept disappoint you? Was it lyrical shortcoming, musical elements? I think. Apologies if you've covered this. I've been tricking. Yeah, I covered this. Just didn't all fit, and more lyrical shortcomings. The corporate concept, I never really got to fully flesh out. Some things worked, some things didn't. Yeah, I covered that. I shouldn't have went over that. Never sold. Yeah, it's weird. Dozens of us, dozens. Do you have any questions on your thing that I can't see because mine's a little behind you?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, that was fun. It looks like that's going to conclude our Great Filter recap. Join us tomorrow when we move on to our fifth album, The Great Filter. Our fifth album, Secret Handshakes. Thanks again. Stay safe and healthy. It's been a blast. We've been having a good time doing this, and we'll see you soon.
Nice sign off.
Thank you. Getting better at this. Bye.